Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to another episode of the vlog. Today, I want to try to answer the question: which meta snapshot should you use, vicious syndicates or temple storms? And I want to give you a little bit of background from me to answer this question. I work with data, specifically analytics and data science, for quite some time now. And I believe that that professional experience of working with that kind of discussion should help to bring some light on this discussion. And that's my biggest motivation, because in my professional life, often I do have to answer this question: should I look at expert opinion, which in this case is Temple Storm, or should I look into pure data, which in this case is Vicious Syndicate? So I will try to answer that question, but let me start by saying that there is no right answer. Temple Storm and Vicious Syndicate are not mutually exclusive. Quite the opposite. I think that using the two to find insights of very specific things is very helpful. But people tend to have a very polarized opinion. They either defend one or defend the other, at the same time trying to point out the problems that the other contender has, which, in my opinion, is not a very good way to go about this whole question about which data or which information should you use. So let me start addressing the criticism that Vicious Syndicate usually hears. And the first one is that their data is biased because only a very specific group of users gives them data, in a way. They have addressed that. Actually, the way that they conduct their analysis for the meta reports is pretty thorough. And I say this based on my own professional experience and the information that they give in their frequently asked questions. Now, I am not in any way, shape, or form working with Vicious Syndicate, so I don't know the inner workings, but from the explanations that they give in their frequently asked questions, I have to say that I am very comfortable, as someone that works with data science, to say that the fact that the data collection is biased does not mean that the inferences that they do in their analysis are biased too. So my take on it is that their data or their conclusions are not biased. Now, the second one is that their data is sampled. Well, yes, that is true. They don't have access to all of the data. But one of the things that gave me quite a ease of mind was that when they had the Data Reaper live, the previous version, not the current one, they had the confidence intervals of the numbers that they were giving, if I'm not mistaken, for frequency on the several ranks and then in Legend. That means that they have the statistical knowledge to conduct their analysis even with sampled data. Okay, and they are pretty aware of that. I've read a number of times in their reports that they are not going to give information about a certain archetype, for instance, because they are not happy with the amount of data that they have. Okay, so I have absolutely no issue, and I'm again repeating, I'm saying this as someone that works with data science, to say that they are doing a good job from what I can observe. However, what people then go to is Temple Storm, and they throw criticism at Temple Storm. And the biggest one that I have is to say that Vicious Syndicate is data, while Temple Storm is just an opinion. Well, true, but it is an opinion by some of the best players that compete on the ladder. And that's the big part to me, because there are times when we want to use the data, and there are other times when we want to hear the experts. And this is expert opinion, both in standard and in wild. so I don't see this is a bad thing. It's an opinion, but it's not an opinion from me, for instance, that I'm an average player. It's an opinion from the best of the best that are competing at the most difficult and highest legend ranks out there. So I don't see why an opinion from someone that plays so many hours, that has so much experience, and some of them are experts in that specific class. I don't see why that is a bad thing at all. I don't get it, really. So in the end, which one is the best? None. Both of them are really good if you know what you're looking for. For instance, if you are a highly skilled player, you probably want to know what Tempo Storm has to say about the meta, because that's what their experts, their players are. The opinion that they are giving about a certain deck reflects their experience at the highest levels. While on the other hand, Vicious Syndicate offers this very broad vision by groups of ranks also, where the average Joe like me can go there and understand where is the power level on average. And both are very important, because, for instance, if Tempo Storm is pointing out that a deck is very strong, then you can assume that that deck is very strong at the highest levels of competition, and that probably you will find a way to beat it at the lower ranks, for instance. So they are completely different ways of looking at information from the meta, and both are extremely valuable. It is not a black or white thing, it is not a yes or no, and it should not be polarized at all. It's different people using different pieces of information to provide a high level of content to everyone everywhere. So while for me, being a data professional, it's easier to grasp and to understand, for instance, Vicious Syndicate, and that's why I personally use it, it's perfectly acceptable, plausible, and probably healthy if you are playing above, for instance, let's say rank 5, that you do take that information into consideration, but that you hear what experts and the highest level players have to say about decks. I think it makes perfect sense. Now, you can argue, and I do argue, that the tiers from Tempo Storm being based mostly on the level of their players might be a little bit random, or that they don't reflect the actual power level at certain levels of the meta. And I completely agree with that. I'm probably one of the I'm very critical about the tier lists that Tempo Storm shows. However, those tier lists do indicate what is the opinion of the experts. Even if the numbers don't reflect that, that doesn't mean that at that level of play, that's not true. It probably is, considering their own experience. So, data is not the end-all things to find the truth. It isn't. If we use data in a completely blind way, we will never get the full picture. And I can see that, for instance, that I see a lot of posts and opinions from people that use like a very specific deck list from metastats, for instance, and they pick that deck list to say that the archetype is completely broken. That only shows data ignorance that most people have, and I'm not saying this in a bad way. I mean, most people don't work with data in a way that they can consume it in a positive and like neutral point of view. Most people often use data just to validate their biases. That's it. So don't be that guy. Be smart. Vicious Syndicate data is very good to understand how archetypes operate and how they are working out at different levels of play, while Tempo Storm is an invaluable resource for people that want to understand the archetypes that probably are playing at a higher level of play than the average player. Okay, so I really hope this helps to answer the question to you, because only you can say which of the meta snapshots is better for your particular case, and I hope that this helps with the discussion of one versus the other, because one versus the other seriously does not exist. All right. Hope this was helpful. I'll get out of my soapbox and I'll see you in the next video. Until then, bye bye.